Okay, let me start again, everybody, in case you thought you caught me live a second ago. I believe my camera orientation was all messed up, so I wanted to make sure I just stopped and started over so that you can still see everything that's going on here. So, all right, let me get some of that into frame while y'all are hopping on for tonight. Happy Monday, everybody, and first day of spring, I believe, if I have all that information correct. Here in Wisconsin, well, at least where I am, in Wisconsin, we actually had a nice sunny day today. So it almost felt like some of that springtime stuff was finally kind of kicking through. And I think we might end up with some more either cold or snowy-ish weather toward the end of the week. But let's keep our fingers crossed that that's going to stay away. And we'll be all excited to actually head in towards a little bit of springtime. That's for sure. All right. It is also spring break week here in Sun Prairie for our kiddos. Zach still has to go to work, but my husband and my youngest are off on a boys' trip to Universal Studios in Hollywood. And my youngest is a very big Mario fan. They just opened a Mario-themed section of the park, and he's getting his Mario Kart on. So that's about everything from our neck of the woods here. Hopefully we're going to be seeing some people popping in soon. I always like to know before I get too far along that all the live is at work and y'all can see me and all that good stuff. All right. So tonight, what I'm going to be using throughout for the phrases for my cards is this set right here. It's called Happy Labels, and you can find that on page 53 of your mini catalog. It does come bundled with a punch, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. But this is a nice, it's kind of a unique little set of phrases that are going to be useful. So you've got like the I'm so happy you were born, obviously goes for a birthday. You've got your traditionals, thank you, just a note, hello, things like that. I like the you're going to be amazing parents. I think that one's really sweet when you're getting those baby congratulations out there. So here's some layout ideas using that particular stamp set and the punch that goes with it. So let me show you what that looks like. This is called the Happy Labels Pick-a-Punch. Now, Pick-a-Punch just means that there's a couple of options on your punch. So in this case, there's two different options. And the widths of these can change as well. So you see these deep tracks these tracks are in three different sizes. So you have 3/4 inch, half inch, half inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch. You got to start with the smallest one. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and open that up. And I'm going to use my 1 inch one. Now I like to cut the pieces just a scooch thinner than what it's calling for. So mine is just a tiny bit under an inch, and that just helps get it into the track and all the way through really nicely. Now when this is going to come out, it's going to have that little jaggedy edge. It kind of reminds me of like a movie ticket kind of, or like a tear off ticket kind of concept. And then this one too is going to be very similar. The space between is just a little bit larger. Now when you're going to do these for stamping purposes or for project purposes, if you want to go ahead and pre-measure what you're going to be using, I always do a sample like this, and then I account for whatever's going to get cut off. So I think that comes out to like 1/8 of an inch or something like that. So if you know you want to end up with a piece that's 3 inches long, you're going to want 3 inches plus an eighth plus an eighth, or whatever that little measurement is going to be. Okay, so that again is the Happy Labels bundle. You can find that on page 53 of the current mini catalog. Reminder, there's only about a month left in this, and in about a few weeks, week to a little more than a week, we'll be getting information on what's going to carry over. Also, then obviously what is retiring, etc., from that particular catalog. So some things will be retiring and going away. Some things will move on to the next annual catalog. And speaking of, if you would like to get one of those from me, make sure you drop a note on my page. I'll have a post that says, yes, please send me a catalog. If you're already used to getting them from me, that's not a problem. You should already still be on my list and that sort of thing. But if you just want to make sure, if you think you've moved, changed addresses, I need to know that so that I get them to the right locations. So those will be coming out in May. And I have to get the orders in for mailing by the end of March. So I'll be looking for address changes, et cetera, in the next couple of weeks. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started with our card tonight. So I told you to pick a piece of neutral cardstock. for your card base. And then also this little 3/4 inch width one is for your tag. So you can have a length. The length can be up to you. I kind of did a little cook's choice tonight. Rather than limit you, I just kind of went with a width, and choose your phrase that fits. The length then is up to you. So for my neutral, I actually chose gray granite because I've been working with a few of those, what we consider to be a neutral color, but usually when you first think of it, you think of the basic white or very vanilla, but I like to use either crumb cake or gray sometimes. Hi, Judy. Thanks for joining me tonight. I like to get into these tones as well as neutrals. I mean, they are in the neutral category in our color palette, and they really do work well in that role. So my neutral tonight, again, gray granite. So I've got the 5.5 by 8.5 square to 4 1/4, and there's my 3/4 inch piece to do my phrase later. Then I said, please pick a cardstock that is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. I have a basic black. And then you need 4 squares of DSP that are each 1.5 by 1.5. And today, or for tonight here, choose 2 different patterns. Small prints are going to work best. I have pieces from Sun Prints, and these are in gray granite. So here's my first one, and here's my second one. Okay. I don't think they were, they're not even the same ones from the back sides of each other. And then also grab either a sponge dauber, a sponge itself, or a little blending brush. You're going to be doing just a tiny bit of highlight on your, the neutral piece for your phrase. I'll try to show you how that works in just a minute. All right, let's pick up all of those pieces. All right, first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and stamp that phrase. So I'm going to pull out that, and I'm using the There's No One Like You. And again, that was from the Happy Labels. I'm going to stamp that in black. Whoops. Probably helps to take the ink pad portion and set the lid aside. Oh, dear. That's like it, right? All right, so go ahead and do that. So there's my phrase, There's No One Like You. And then go ahead. I'm going to actually do some highlighting with the grid itself. I thought black would look stuck with this. But if you have a true neutral like the white or vanilla, I would pick your ink color again, whatever you stamped in. Go ahead and use that again. And then grab your sponge or your blending brush or something like that. And what I want you to do is you're going to use this to take some of the background starkness off of what you want. So if you're using a sponge dauber or a blending brush, you're going to just bring that in with this like that, darkening up those edges a little bit. So it's going to kind of smudge the background of my gray granite here. And that's going to help the phrase stand out a little bit. And it's also going to help my gray granite piece stand off of my gray granite cardstock for the background. And also because that's prominently in the background of my designer series paper. Okay. So I'm just doing just the edges as I go. You can kind of see I come in from the outside and working towards those areas like that. Okay. So now that's a little bit smudged up. Hi, Kathy. Good to see you tonight. I hope you enjoyed some of our sunshine today. It was nice to see that out there. Alrighty. Next up, I'm going to take this away for a second because I'm using black cardstock and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Grab your square and your 4 pieces of designer series paper. And we are going to place them inside the square, leaving just a little bit of a border around each side. Okay, so pick one of them to start with. It really doesn't matter. If yours are directional, just pay attention to that when you're laying these down. So your borders are going to be about 1/8 of an inch by the time you're done. So you're going to go with a tiny border that way. Then next to it should be one of your opposite pieces, like so. And again, you're going for about 1/8 in between. And then for up here, it's just going to be the opposite of those two. So this one will go kitty corner from this one. And again, you've got your border working all the way around. And one more time. Yeah, so nice to see that sunshine today, Kathy. I was so excited. Kind of hoping it sticks around for a few days. It's nice because our kids are on spring break this week, so they can actually get out and enjoy a little bit of that. All right, there is that finished piece right there. That's basically the focal point for you guys, is that letting those little pieces of designer series paper do some work for you in the background. All right, so go ahead and take your card base, and if you have more of the true neutral of the white or the vanilla, You obviously shouldn't need any other piece for the inside. You can just stamp or write directly on that. That should be really good to go. Now you can decide at this point, I'll give you a couple of options. This can stay a vertical card, and you can focus on maybe down in the middle, the true middle, top, bottom, something like that. You can also turn this landscape style and focus left, focus right, whatever you feel looks best with what you've got to work with. I'm going to start out with the inspiration sample I saw, which was basically kind of like this. So it went towards the bottom corner. And again, you can decide at this point if you want to pop that up at all. Please go ahead and grab your dimensionals, and you can make this square stand up off your card base. And I just aim for an even border basically around. So it could be super close to the corner, further away, whatever you think you like. So that's going to be what I'm going to be doing with mine right there. Now my phrase, I'm going to pop up just a little bit. I always like just a tiny bit of dimension somewhere on my card. But that's just me. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple dimensionals to the back of my phrase. And again, depending on where you put it, you can decide where you want this phrase to end up. Amy, good to see you tonight. Hope everything is going well over by you. Okay, so you can take this part here and you can make it part of just the focal point itself. You can choose to highlight some of the focal point by having it go off the side. Let me see a couple of my samples. I did the middle, off the side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this traditional straight up in the middle, like so. Okay, and that is basically the layout for tonight. So you've got a couple of squares, 4 squares that were each 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, layered onto another square, and then put onto your card base. So that is super simple. Nice way to use up small scraps of designer series paper. And as you can see, this particular one that I did on camera here is very, very neutral palette. And you can, especially because of the designer series paper I picked. Now, a couple more of my samples, you'll see it'll change into a little bit more brighter tones. For example, this one here. So this is, let me just double check my notes. Perfectly penciled designer series paper. It's all black and white patterns. And so I did take some of my blends, my polished pink and my granny apple, to color in the flowers. And then I did 2 layers behind. I have a layer of the polished pink and then again black just to offset that off the white that I used on the card base. I used some ribbon around and then used my phrase element more like a tag. So it kind of almost looks like a package tied up with a bow if you're looking from the top perspective, let's say. And I also threw in a couple of the in color opal rounds in a polished pink color. So those are in the middle of those flowers. I'm using up some of my things in colors that are expected to be headed out. We all know there's a color refresh coming, so I'm not ready to say they're going on yet, because I'm really secretly hoping that soft succulent and or evening evergreen sneak into the regular, the new color palettes, the new color families that we're going to be ending up in, because they're just some of my absolute favorite ones to work with. So this would be the family that has those 2, polished pink. Oh gosh, what's the other one? Fresh freesia and pale papaya. There we go. Those are the ones that we believe are headed out the door at the end of April. So, all right, back to samples. Here's one I did in a landscape version. This is a very vanilla card base. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw that black piece of paper down here again, because that, I think, gives you sometimes a better look at. There we go. That makes them pop a little better. All right, this is the Fancy Flora Designer Series paper, and the color palette for this one had some of that evening evergreen, and then kind of like the suede and crumb and vanilla type paint splatter, basically. I mean, it's a very nondescript or non-focused kind of a thing, but these were actually part of flowers. So, but I just thought these 2 pieces here looked really kind of fun together. And then I chose to take my phrase and I cut it off at angles. Again, I used that sponging to add the color there to kind of break up some of that starkness, and everything is raised up. So the panel itself here is raised up and my phrase is raised up. Alrighty. Then I've got another one that I did in that horizontal layout. This is the Blackberry Bliss portion of the Pretty Prince Designer Series papers. Took some from there. I used a different one of our punches, and I used an embossing folder actually to create a layer here. So I have, this is one of the new ones that's in the online exclusives. You get a pack of 3 together. It makes this one is kind of like a crosshair crisscross pattern. There's plain polka dots and then kind of a star pattern. You get all 3 folders together, and those are in the online exclusives only. This was it's a white ribbon that has, or white vanilla-ish kind of ribbon that has a metallic edge, and I took my blend and I colored it the blackberry color so that it would fit in a little bit better. And again, a little bit of sponging to break up the edges so that it really sets itself off again from its own neutral self, so to speak. All right, there we go. Move those over to the side. I'm going to bring this one back in, and I'll show you how I stepped up this particular one. Again, I did a layer with some embossing. So this is the time-worn type embossing folder that's on the background of this one. I kind of like it because it's got a little bit of words and a little bit of texture to it, but even the words and things are very subtle, and you don't always know that you can tell if you're looking at words. So it's just like I said, time-worn. That's a very appropriate way to phrase what that looks like in the background of what you're working with. I still stuck with my square with black behind it. I did add some black dots to it. I added a little bit of black cord, and I used that pick a punch in a longer phrase. So you can see the phrase this time goes all the way across. And again, this time this one here, I just used a little bit. This one has another longer, but to offset. So there's lots of different ways that you can set up these phrase pieces to fit with whatever it is that you're working with. Okay. I kind of like I said, I like this as a way to show off little remnants of designer series paper. You always end up with just maybe some little pieces here or there, and this is a good way to play with it. And depending on how they played nicely together, you could absolutely do 4 different ones, have them all be the same, but maybe changing, if they have a direction to them, change the direction that they head in. You don't have one pattern going off different ways. So there's lots of different ways that you can think about playing with this 4 square combination. And then next time you're grabbing out some of your old stock of designer series paper. All right, so again, that was the Happy Labels stamp sets and matching punch that I've used on some of those elements there. Those pick-a-punch ones are just kind of a fun way to add a little bit of an accent to the edges of your little phrase elements. All right, everybody, I think that's it for tonight. I will be back again live next week. And happy first day of spring, everyone. I hope you had some nice temperatures to enjoy today, depending on where you were. And it was great to be stamping with you tonight. Thanks. Take care, everybody. I will see you next week.